I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and that's I have to use the name Peggy Ann Dempsey Childers. I was kidnapped and brought to Moulton, Alabama in 41 at age 2. And I put all this up on Facebook and YouTube, 2 accounts on YouTube, because they tried to take my account down. Some people did. I wanted to focus on this. Larry Flint uh, helped me in a campaign to replace U.S. Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald from Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. I had written about him in a medical malpractice book, and Mr. Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. While I was doing the book, he was shot May the 6th of 78. I was living at Moonraker Apartments in Marietta. Had a letter from the FBI later, June the 23rd of 79. Now, I want to go back to this. Mr. Flint flew me out there because Larry McDonald, Congressman Doctor, was supposed to have gone down in plane crash, the KAL, from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea, August 31st of 83. Now, I'd written about him, and he was one that was part of, I should have died April Fool Day of 80. He's a congressman, U.S. Congressman Doctor. So now the plane goes down, and Mr. Flint says here that I know who's responsible for his shooting there on March the 6th. He mentions Larry McDonald and Al Burroughs and State Senator Thomas Murphy. So now then, I don't know, didn't see the discrepancy because when he was shot in Lawrenceville, uh, Joseph Paul Franken is the name of the man. These are program shooters. I was writing about that, okay? Let me turn this around. I was writing about mind control. Program shooters, call them Manchurian candidates. They're victims, okay, of programming, just like the young guy from South Korea, a student at Virginia Tech, where the 32 he shot, and was programmed to shoot himself and make it look like he was programmed to shoot himself just like shooting the other Aurora, Colorado, and all that. You can Robin Williams, Mort from Mort, looked like he committed suicide. It was mind control. You can create illnesses or cure them back to the Tesla files that were you're programming people, and in other words, there's been cures for the illness, or you can create new ones. The Tesla files stole in 1930. Now then, uh, Al Franken was programmed. I've always said the shooter was, and then I don't know why it took me this long. The magazine's just about done in from all these years. Uh, but anyway, I'm going to leave it there, I guess. I think I'm about to go off on this one anyway. I wanted to, so if Martin Luther King was part of it, why did Franken get put to death? And he was put to death. Now, James Earl Ray died, that shot Martin Luther King, a program shooter, April 23rd of 98. Martin Luther King partnered, and there's a question about that. Martin Luther King partnered with JFK, who helped kidnap me. His father was ambassador to England by Roosevelt. Jew, the Illuminati took down my father and kidnapped me in 41. Martin Luther King was part of that. Part of it's taken down the British Empire, South Africa, all of it. Now then, Martin Luther King and his civil rights, I've never had any civil rights. But anyway, he was shot April the 4th of 68, and I was furnished a car for a year. I had no money by Larry Flynn after that campaign in 83. And that was one of the places I stopped at. I was going back to try to turn the car back in, and they would, that was it. I couldn't see them. I couldn't turn the car in. I had no money. But anyway, I had no idea that Martin Luther King had been shot where I walked up to the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. Uh, I was told after there's all the money I had, it was a cheap one. That's where Reverend Andrew, call him a reverend. This man's part of this whole mess, and they're touted as being the good guys. I hope you get to see this whole bloody mess. But April the 4th of 68 is when he was shot. I was out there March of 84, okay, and spent a night as I didn't have any money. So I wanted to get something else too, and I left the other sheet of paper over here. James Earl Ray died April 23rd of 98. Liver disease. Okay, I made the mistake there. Paul Franken was executed, and that's on another sheet. You can Google it if you want to. But anyway, the day that James Earl Ray was shot, I know where I was. I mean, he was put to death. Well, liver disease, but he wasn't supposed to have shot Martin Luther King. I was up at the Appalachian Trail off Mountain Pass Road in Troutville, near where I'm at now in Roanoke, since 68. The day he died, that morning, I was up there and I heard about it. And this is a mess going up, isn't it? And I look a mess. That's how I feel. I've been through hell and I'm still in it, trying to tell all this and fight for a civil right, thank you. But anyway, that afternoon, I believe it was, there was a gentleman that came up, and he looked like a double for one of the actors, and I can't remember his name. I know the parts he's played, but I can't remember his name. He came up there with a pizza. That's on the Appalachian Trail, and I actually lived on the trail just to have a place to live. I froze, I starved, people were told not to help me, and I lived a horrible life. But anyway, this man showed up, and he had part of a pizza, and I was so glad to get it, you know. He gave it to me, and he said he was from Huntsville, Alabama. This is where I worked for the district attorney, and I was kidnapped and taken to Moulton, Alabama, which is about 40 miles away. But I worked in Huntsville, and so did my husband for the space industry. Who do you think's hostage money paid for the space program and to have Kennedy name put on Cape Canaveral? This whole thing's a bloody mess. But anyway, this man come up, and well, he was a double for one of the actors. He looked like him, a double, and he brought the pizza, and he was talking about the death of, told me he was from Huntsville. Don't know if he mentioned the district attorney's office that I'd worked for, but anyway, the point was the date of James Earl Ray dying. And anyway, if he even did it, he was programmed. But I'm not sure he did it. I'm going to stop now because I see I lost the other sheet and I don't have time to go back right at the moment and do it. There's enough up that you can. The point I was going to make here, too, was Mr. Flint, the guy that died, was Joseph Rankin. He was executed for shooting. He was executed. I got to have something wrong here. He was executed but he did kill his attorney. Yeah, so I guess that's it. He shot Mr. Flint, and he might as well have killed him. I suppose he's paralyzed from his neck down. And the attorney was killed, and then the judge was in pretty bad shape too. So you can Google it. Anyway, why would he make the statement here that I knew who was responsible for his shooting? And this is an April of 84 issue, and this man was put to death for the shooting and murders in the Larry Flint shooting. His name's Joseph Rankin. I hope I haven't made a mess here because I just Googled it and I happened to get it on 2 sheets of paper and I'm trying to hurry. I've got somewhere I have to go. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. You can Google who shot Martin Luther King, and you can Google who shot Larry Flint and who was put to death, and then look at this article where he says Larry McDonald was a part of it. Larry McDonald was a part of the book I wrote when Mr. Flint was shot and brought to Lawrenceville, Georgia, and he was shot. And then I'm almost killed April Fool Day of 80. And that's what Mr. Flint said to me, and I'm going to stop because this is going to go off. I'd never met him in 83. I knew the guy that shot him was programmed because that's what I was writing about, mind control murders. I'd never met Mr. Flint, but I knew because of the patterns done. I'd always said that. And I'm flown out there, and I was on the street, put on the street. Crimes, God knows what they did to me, what they put into me April Fool Day of 80. Doctors did it, and some other people. Anyway, I'm flown out to Mr. Flint's. I'd never met him, but I'd always made the statements it was a mind control murder programmed that was responsible for his shooting. Okay, Larry McDonald, Congressman Doctor, by the way, was one that tried to have me killed April Fool Day of 80, because I did case about him in the book, and it was really connecting him to a lot of things. So here I get to Mr. Flint's. I'm flown out there October the 1st of 83, and he's going to help me in the campaign to replace Congressman Larry McDonald, doctor I'd written about. He was on the KL that was shot down. And Nixon was taken off the flight prior to the plane going down, so it was planned. And I have been told that Larry McDonald wasn't on the plane either. It was taken down to make it appear that he was gone, dead. Now back to this, if I can get to it. I've forgotten right at the moment now where I am with it. I'm flown out to Mr. Flint's April the 1st of 83. And I have really lost my train of thought now. I'm up and I am so tired because of what's going on with me here. And I can't remember what it Mr. Flint said to me, remember I said I had never met him. He sent someone to pick me up at the airport, and the limousine driver had a big missus on the thing, and he walked up to me, and I thought, well, maybe they don't even won't even send anybody, and I have no money, But he walked up to me and he says, are you Mrs. Childers? And I said, yes. Well, that's not my real name either, but that's who I married at Childers. But anyway, he said Mr. Flint had sent the limo after me. He gave me a card. He was a black man. He gave me a card, and he said Larry Flint was his best friend, really close. He said that he had not been able to even get a phone call through to Mr. Flint since his shooting in 78. Now, this is 83. He said, gave me his card. He said, please, I don't know why he called me to pick you up now, but please give him my card and have him call me. I got to Mr. Flint's and I walked in, and he was very nice. And the first thing he said to me was, he was in his library. He said, you don't have to tell me anything about yourself. I know all there is to know. I know they were going to send you back a vegetable. Well, if you know what they did to me and used on me April Fool Day of 80, and then Henry Kissinger and what he tried to do that's on the Watergate tapes, there in College Park in 1972, Georgia, Victor Gonzalez standing over me. It was an 18-minute and a half gap in the Watergate tapes would tell you what Henry Kissinger was trying to do to me, the son of a bitch. He was Nixon's guy over the Secretary of State and of Defense. So that's all I can put up here. I've put it up for so many years, and what can I say? I hope I get to see my children again. That's the driving force, and to repay the people who have helped me. Most of them could just want me to go away and be dead. They don't care. There were Brits that still remembered me and came over here, and the reason I'm alive, and Germans and some Americans. So for those people, I hope there's a reward. And right now, nobody short of God can do that. It's a horrible crime that I committed all my life to my mom and dad, to my country, and to my sons. When you did it to my sons, you did it to me. Too much.